Hello everyone, welcome back to Major Hi-Fi. I'm Luke, per usual. Today we're going to be talking about a new headphone from Dan Clark Audio, which is one of my favorite headphone companies. I've mentioned the Aeon Flow 2 on this channel a lot, especially when I do amp reviews. I love to test it. It's just one of my favorite headphones. So any excuse I can think of to use it, I'll basically take. But this headphone is a bit more expensive than the Flow, and it's also just very different for a number of reasons. So let's go on ahead and take out the Stealth. This must be some of the craziest packaging, and you're gonna see why when I open it. This runs for $3,999. It's a very big ticket item, similar in price to the Meze Elite, which we reviewed a couple weeks ago, or a week ago. And I'll definitely be doing a comparison between the Stealth and the Elite at some point, as they are the same price. The Stealth is a closed back planar magnetic headphone, and it is Dan Clark's flagship model, just recently released. Let's go on ahead and open the box and just get into it. All right, so I was like scared to open this because you kind of do have to pull on it a little bit, and when something's this expensive, I don't want to pull on anything or, you know, risk anything, but it just opens in this cool triangular, I don't know, very futuristic. I feel like I'm in Tron right now. So not much in the package. I'll start with a cable. I know it's not the most exciting part, but I want to get that out of the way before we get into the headphones. This is the Vivo cable. There's a ton of different options for terminations. I have, quarter inch, but there's a million different options. And it has mini XLR connectors on the end here. It's this kind of rope-like texture, as you can see. It's very, very soft, very loose and malleable, so it's not stiff whatsoever. It's definitely pretty thick, but I don't mind that, and I expect that for a headphone like this. And I really appreciate how soft and flexible it is. So we've got this cool carrying case, and it's gonna fit in here. Obviously this is a pretty small case for a headphone that is not super small, but it folds up so cute and neat in here. It just is a perfect little fit. What a cute little thing this is. So let me unfold this, which I'll admit, I find a little bit scary to do because it's expensive, and I don't like to fold up expensive headphones. It's simply nerve-wracking. As you can see, this is a very malleable pair of headphones, similar to the Elite. I should probably not be comparing them already when I'm going to do a comparison on them anyways. But just, as you can see, they move around very easily, just in your hands. They already are going all kinds of directions, which is a good thing. It means that they're gonna be able to get a very nice, comfortable, customizable fit on your head. They've got these cool, like, one-sided yokes to attach to the ear cups. And they've got a great design going on too. Like, as you can see, they've got this cool cutout going on around the ear cups, which have the sort of classic shape we've seen on the Aeon Flow and Noir and stuff like that, which I think is really cool and sets these apart from other headphones. It definitely makes a statement, and I appreciate a nice statement. I am tired of headphones that look the same. What's the point? It's a super futuristic looking headphone. It looks expensive, and that is what you want at this price point. And if I put them on, you'll see it's a super comfortable fit. Oh my God, I can't hear anything. It's not a headphone you adjust by pulling on. It just kind of adjusts to your head. The headband will kind of pull up naturally to where it needs to be. We've got this big overarching metal frame, which definitely is not very petite, but it does, keep the structural integrity of the headphone very sound, and it doesn't feel unruly. These are not too heavy. They are much lighter than maybe you would think. Because the headband is just these two thin wires, there's a lot of material that's avoided, so the mass is much smaller. And then the ear cups are very, very comfortable. They're so large. Your ears are just kind of swimming in them, in a good way, I would say at least. But yeah, I appreciate how these fit. I really like that they are nice and wide. You can wear your glasses with them if you have glasses. So like I said, these are a closed back planar magnetic headphone. They use Dan Clark Audio's proprietary acoustic metamaterial tuning system, which they claim is supposed to create a wider sound stage and reduce high frequency standing waves, resulting in a stunning, relaxed, and natural sound experience. We will see about that. So let's go on ahead and talk about what you probably came here for, which is how do they sound? Alright, so to start off with the Soundstage, I am going to add this to the category of closed back headphones that I just don't understand how it's going on, how it's working. I think I've said this about some of the Kennerton headphones. I'm sorry, I'm blanking. There's a number recently, there's been a growing number of headphones that I've listened to that have been closed backs where I don't understand how they are a closed back. I'll link below to videos of other kind of impossible closed backs I've done. I'll make sure I find them and put them in the description. Yeah, so this thing is like super wide. Way too wide to be a closed back. Makes no sense, but I'm happy about it. I'm very happy about it. Basically, the sound is pretty far outside of your head. It's really sitting on your shoulders, at some points even going further than that. It creates a very large chamber-like room. It's really getting close to an open back here. I feel like maybe in 5 years, open backs will be obsolete and we'll just have the technology that we don't need to leave the back open for it to be wide enough. I don't know, but this is pretty crazy. I've spent a fair amount of time with open backs from Dan Clark, and this is pretty comparable in width to a lot of them, which is so impressive because it's not an open back. They spread sound in a very satisfying way, meaning that they stretch things out a lot. Of course, they're pulling the sound outwards, they're pushing it outwards, whatever word you want to use, but they're not going to thin out the sound and create any sort of loss of impact or, heaviness or weight. Even though the sound's going to kind of be divvied up into all these particles and dispersed across a much wider, stage than maybe it was originally even made for, we don't want it to lose its intensity, and that this does a great job of keeping all of that intensity. Nothing is lost, only things are gained, and what is gained is a lot of width and a lot of depth. The lows on these are very balanced and definitely have a pretty unintrusive feel to them. They don't seem to want to interfere with anything else in the mix. I mean, no low end wants to, but we know that many low ends do. The low end on the Stealth is not going to interfere with any of the frequencies going on above it. Because of the great separation on these, the low end really has its very own defined space to perform in, which means it's not going to bleed into other areas, and it's going to be able to once again retain its intensity while still being able to contribute to all the width and realism that is offered from the Soundstage on these. We're not going to get a lot of rumble or boomingness added to kick and bass sounds, sort of classic low end elements. But we're going to get a very natural kind of transparent feel to a lot of the timbres and textures. They're all going to be presented in a very clear way. But if you want that extra kind of, movie theater feel, maybe it's not quite there. I feel like this really does lean towards a much more neutral low end that's not going to be, like I said, overdoing it. It doesn't want to draw too much attention to itself, but it really didn't ever feel like it was missing a certain amount of weight to it. It still felt like it had plenty of oomph. And just enough for me personally. Anyone who wants a very balanced bass response that's very clean and clear but has a kind of underlying, added weight to it that's just not too intense, then this will be perfect. Alright, so in the mid-range, the Stealth seems to kind of want to push things forward. It wants to add presence, but it doesn't want to highlight things beyond the realm of kind of realism. It wants to keep things sounding fresh and kind of like they make sense. It doesn't want to add too much, modulation or noticeable modulation, that is. There's kind of a flat tuning across the mids. There's definitely some boosting going on, especially in the 1 to 2 kilohertz range, which is going to add a bit of extra snap to things. I would say there's a bit of coloring going on. These definitely felt more saturated than some of the other Dan Clark headphones that I've heard before, but I liked it. I thought they pulled it off really well. It's not a ton of color, but it's definitely noticeable, especially in the mid-range. There's kind of some rounding off of those sort of sharper edges, which is nice. And don't get me wrong, there's still a transparent, very crisp feel to the mid-range overall, but it does have that coloring that you will notice maybe over time. So overall, I found the mid-range on these really brought new life to tracks. It really upped the engagement, the immersiveness, and it also added sort of a slight unique character to the sound that I appreciated and I hope to see more of from Dan Clark in the future. So in terms of high end, these are honestly pretty bright. They are not any sort of dark, but they're not really pushing it on the brightness. Like, they could definitely add a few more decibels and still be in a kind of reasonable realm of, added shine, and they definitely are leaving that room, I think, for a reason, that kind of extra added room, to not boost things right up to the line. The low highs are kind of getting a little bit more of the attention. This is sort of not a headphone that puts all of its brightness in the sort of 8 kilohertz plus range. I wouldn't have minded an extra few decibels in that 8 kilohertz plus range. I'm probably in the minority with that. I think most people will find that these do a good job of being a bit more flat in the high end and not overdoing a certain area, but I just like a pretty excessive sheen. So it's bright, but it's not aggressive. It's sort of similar to the mid-range. It is increasing things. It is adding some snap, some crispness, maybe some light coloring. It's still aiming for transparency at the end of the day, I think. At least that's how I felt. If you're someone who's just completely opposed to a crisp, brighter high end, it's just not your cup of tea, I totally get that. These are probably not going to be right for you. But if you're okay with a bit more high-end, you don't have to be a high-end fanatic. These will still do a great job, and I think the brightness on these is just kind of a necessary part of attaining the goal of a very, full, engaging, natural sound. All right, so overall, I'm really impressed with these. For the price tag, I definitely had high expectations, as anyone would. And also, because Dan Clark Audio is one of my favorite companies, I was expecting great things, and I was not disappointed. I am quite happy with what we've got going on here. These are definitely kind of in a league of their own, similar to, once again, the Meze Elite, which we will do the comparison. It's just fresh in my mind, so I keep thinking about it. I'm excited to compare them. Yeah, the cleanliness, the versatility, just the pure vast soundstage going on, everything about these is so impressive. They're definitely upping the game, as it seems every headphone that comes out is in certain ways. This is sort of, I feel like, the new era of hi-fi audio is definitely embodied by the Stealth in many ways. So if you can swing the price tag, I would say, why not? I will link below to my written review on Major Hi-Fi per usual. I'll also link to the headphone ranking tool, where this will be alongside basically every other headphone that you can buy right now, and that will be in the description. And yeah, I'll be back very soon with some more videos and reviews, and until next time, happy listening.